It is now 2026, and you know what that means. That means the new Haymitch movie will be coming out later this year. Now, I know when I was a youngin', when I was Rue's age, rest in peace, that was like the only time that I watched Hunger Games. I think I watched maybe both movies once. I've only seen Hunger Games 1, Hunger Games 2, and then half of that newest one, the prequel with President Snow, with Rachel Zegler. That was the extent of my Hunger Games knowledge. But what I did know is that the character of Haymitch intrigued me. The character of Haymitch intrigued me. I was like, who is this drunk bum, and how was he able to win his games back in the day? We finally got that story. They made it a book last year in 2025, which I'm currently in the process of reading. So don't spoil anything, please. And then right off the bat, they're making a movie for it, which I'm all for, because Haymitch is great. I always thought he was great. He always intrigued me. I'm so glad we finally get to see his story unfold. In lieu of that, is that the right word? I don't know. Before that comes out, I wanted to learn more about the series, about the Hunger Games, about the lore. Hence these videos where I revisit the Hunger Games movies that I have seen and then watch even the ones after that, the ones that I haven't seen. So like Mockingjay Part 1, Mockingjay Part 2, the prequel. I want to watch through everything. I want to absorb as much Hunger Games knowledge as possible before that time comes when that movie drops with Haymitch. And so far it's been working. And that's why we have this, the Hunger Games Yap Session. This is episode 2, where I react, review, talk about the second movie of the Hunger Games series, Catching Fire. If you're new here, first of all, thank you so much for clicking on this video. This is what this series is all about. Basically, trying to expand my knowledge on the lore, on the characters, on the story of the Hunger Games series, of the Hunger Games franchise. Because when it comes to the Hunger Games knowledge that I have, it's getting better. Let me remind you, it's getting better. The more I read into the Haymitch book, I'm about halfway through, the more I watch these movies. So I've watched the first one and now Catching Fire. It's starting to click. It's starting to make sense. It's better. I am learning more and I'm loving it. If that's something you're interested in and following along, I would encourage you to check out my channel, maybe subscribe if you want to keep up with this, if you want to keep up with me learning more about this, and then it'll, at least for me, it's been building hype leading up to this new movie. I'm excited, and the more and more I watch, the more and more I am looking forward to this movie following Haymitch. So if that's something that you want to follow along to, please check out my channel, consider a subscription or even a like. Anything helps me. I'm super small at this point. Not like that. Stop. But any sort of support, yeah, it's greatly appreciated. So thank you. Now let's get right into it. This is Catching Fire, the sequel to Hunger Games 1. So we had, in the last movie, we had, spoiler alert, Katniss and Peeta won the games. They broke the games. 2 victors came out of it, and the Capitol didn't like that. President Snow didn't like that. So this is the aftermath of that. And the premise of this movie is, objective number 1, kill off Katniss. Objective number 2, kill off more victors who have been troublesome for President Snow. How do you do that? You group them all together and you throw them into a game. Another game after they already won the first one. That's what Catching Fire is. That's the premise of it. So it's Hunger Games Part 2.
Oh, shit. Here we go again.
What do we get in this? We get a lot. We get the Lannister twins. We get a glimpse into our future brain-rotted Gen Zers when you take away their phone.
TikTok. 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 Okay.
And Hunger Games Catching Fire was before its time. We get some LGBTQIA representation.
Move, bitch!
We're joking here. What do we get? The first part of the movie, it is the victory run, the victory lap. So yeah, the aftermath. Peeta, Katniss now have loads of money. They have a big old house. They get paraded around to all the districts, and they talk to them, saying, sorry for your loss. Long live Panem, blah, blah, blah. But what's happening? Little blips of rebellion are popping up. And and the Peacekeepers do not like that. People get gunned down, and Katniss, boom, is waking up to the fact that, oh shit, this is real. One thing I will start off with is that the first movie, I had a number of critiques. This movie kind of resolved a lot of those. It was great. Honestly, I have like 0 critiques on it, anything that bugged me. One of the things that bugged me in the first movie was Katniss was annoying. Every time she opened her mouth, she was mean. She never smiled. And rightfully so. She was thrown into these games to get killed, to get slaughtered. Peeta took it like a good sport, was hamming it up, was smiling, was trying his best to make something good out of something bad before he ends up inevitably dying. In this movie, Katniss was not annoying. There may be a couple times, but I can't remember anything off the top of my head. Or I was like, geez, Katniss, God, you're so insufferable. But no, she wasn't. And I think part of that had to do with she was starting to learn the game. Does that make sense? She was starting to learn the game. This goes in part with Haymitch as well. Haymitch has learned the game. I'll talk about that a little more later, but Katniss was starting to learn. She is now kind of on the same level as Haymitch. They're both victors. Obviously, there's some parts where Haymitch does undertake that mentorship role, but not as much as the first movie. They weren't helpless this movie. They weren't like frightened cats. I don't know. But with that being said, Katniss's eyes were opening up. She was realizing, oh, this is real. Oh, people are dying because they look to me for hope. I need to the best of my ability, play nice whenever I can. Lay low. Because I don't want people getting killed on my sake. So let me play along with the Capitol's schemes, with the Capitol parading me and Peeta around. Let me ham up my relationship with Peeta. Let me do these strategic things, like the engagement, to kind of get that fire going within the people of the Capitol to make them like her, make them like Peeta, instead of seeing them as a threat. But who does see them as a threat? President Snow, of course. That's another thing that I wanted to talk about. The last movie, we didn't get to see a lot of President Snow. Obviously, Katniss and him talked a little. No, they didn't even talk, really. It was just President Snow crowning Katniss as the winner. Her and Peeta after the games. In this movie, we get to see a lot more of President Snow, and we get to see how cruel he can be, how petty he can be, how abusive he can be with his power. I liked that. He's a villain. And we saw that. 1 second, I'll be back. Where was I? I think I was talking about the boy, President Snow, and how petty he can be. What does that bleed into? That bleeds into the whole idea of, hey, let me take all these people who won fair and square and try and extinguish some of these troublemakers that are victors. You know why? Because at the end of the day, President Snow sees these people as pigs, as lesser than him, as lesser than the people in the Capitol. And I'm assuming the idea of them getting out, of them winning their game, makes him mad, makes him angry. Because some of these people who win, they get invited to all these Capitol things, you know. Every time there's the Hunger Games, they drag these mentors, these victors out. They parade them around as if they're something special, as if they're a part of the Capitol. That would piss off President Snow. And on top of that, there's some quiet rebellion going on, things being said. I'm assuming a lot of these people who won have in some way not cheated the games, but like outsmarted the games. Some of them, yes. Some of the others were careers won. It was just brute strength. But then with that, you get either A, some pride. You think, okay, cool. I won. I'm rich now. I live in these fancy houses. I am basically one of the Capitol members. Where President Snow is like, no, you're not. But continue pushing this Capitol propaganda for us. And then you get the other side where it's these winners, these victors who won, but they're not happy about it. They understand that they didn't really win anything. They just survived. And they're still in this shitty situation that they were in the first place. So there's quiet rebellion, quiet planning, quiet strategic stuff going on. And I'm sure some things that they say, some things that they try throughout the years pisses off President Snow. So what does he do? He has an opportunity for a lot of those troublemakers to get wiped out. Especially Katniss. Because she's the only girl who won in 12, apart from his girlfriend back in the day, which he's still butthurt about. I don't know what happened, but I'm assuming it was her in some shape or way or form that made President Snow the way he is now. Lucy Gray, her name is. But I stopped that movie halfway through, so I don't know what happened. So yeah, we saw a lot more President Snow. We saw why he's the villain, and it pisses you off. So with that being said, we move on out of the little kind of intro bit of the movie. We get the big bombshell of, hey guys, round 2, we're taking all the victors. What I was trying to get to with me not liking Gale. Did I say that yet? I don't like Gale that much. Like, what the hell? And then we move on. They pick out the victors. Obviously, it's Katniss, and then Haymitch gets called, but Peeta volunteers for him. And then we go on to the Capitol once again, the little pre-party, the festivities that goes on before the games. We get to meet a lot of the other characters, a lot of the other tributes. And it wasn't until I started reading this Haymitch book I wouldn't have picked up on this. A lot of the characters, especially in this movie, are in some way, shape, or form tied to Haymitch. But you wouldn't know that unless you know that. Like, Haymitch is very reserved. I said this in the last video. Haymitch and Katniss's dad were apparently friends back in the day, but you do not get that from him. You don't know that by the way he acts, apart from kind of what he does to protect Katniss, what he does to give Katniss the best chance as possible to win. That's the only thing you get. He doesn't say that. He never says that. And he doesn't say that other than for the exception of Mags. You don't understand how tied Haymitch is to these people. Maybe Haymitch doesn't want that. Obviously he doesn't want that, because I don't know the ending of Haymitch's story yet, but I'm guessing the more he expresses how much someone means to him, the more they get hurt. So like, maybe that's his cope for it, where it's like, I can't let people know that, yeah, I do care about these people, that Mags, Wyrus, Beatty, they all were there during my games. They were my mentors. They were a guy who schemed up a plan for me. They were there. Same thing with the reaping lady who calls out the names. I had no idea that Haymitch knew her. She was a part of the story, a part of his story. And the other one was Plutarch. Is that how you say it? Heavensby, who, by the way, I completely imagined in a different light. Not in a different light, in a different way as I'm reading him. Because Plutarch Heavensby is a Capitol guy. And when we first see him, in this movie, he's a game maker, right? He's a game maker. In Haymitch's story, he helps, he's like, not a director, but one of the camera people who is always photographing the tributes from 12, videotaping the stuff 12 does. I imagined him as a colorful, kind of exotic, all over the place Capitol member with like crazy color hair, with mascara on, with all these other crazy goofy looking things, especially since he's a cameraman, he's a creative dude trying to edit, trying to make them look as good as possible in terms of the video of them. I'm going off on a tangent. I expected him to look different, to be more exotic, boisterous, gay looking. I don't know. I don't know what I was thinking. But, so yeah, we see him. I heard his name. I was like, I was hearing all these names. Name. I was like, they're in Haymitch's book, Haymitch's story. But you wouldn't know that because Haymitch is just like reserved. doesn't talk about it. I do want to talk about Haymitch some more at the end of this video. There's a common theme here. I'm going to be talking about Haymitch 3 or 4 times a video. So yeah, we get to see the tributes. And we get some lady flashing her tits at a minor. I'm like, what is going on here? And then Haymitch was into it. And I was like, oh, poor Lenore Dove. But that was crazy. I was like, wait a minute. I looked up his age. I'm like, oh, okay. So that's the Capitol. We move on to the games. Let me make sure I'm not missing anything, actually. Apart from Peeta, apart from Haymitch, apart from, like, Katniss, the District 12 people, a lot of the other people, I didn't care that much about. I really didn't. Iris, Beetee, Mags, I didn't care. Except for Finnick. And I remember Finnick. Because when I was a wee lad back in the day watching this for the first and only time, I was like, wow, that guy is cool. Also, I was obsessed with Percy Jackson, so maybe that had something to do with it. He was holding a trident. He had the cool seashell necklace. He was just a cool surfer dude looking guy. And then we see that throughout the story that, hey, he's a good guy too. He's like putting his life on the line multiple times for a lot of other people to live. Especially Mags. I'm like, bro, Mags is 100 years old. Leave her. But apparently she's from his district. I don't know. I liked him. I liked his character. It was great. But all the other characters, I was like, whatever. So we get into the games finally. And it starts. It's a water one. Some crazy stuff happens. You know, they're up to their old shenanigans, trying to fight to the death in this crazy arena. They kind of go off on their own, escape the cornucopia, the initial bloodbath. Some other stuff happens. Oh yeah, I don't understand why Katniss had such an attachment to Mags too. Apart from like maybe Haymitch saying, I forget what he says, but he makes a comment.
Well, Katniss, I just hope when she goes quickly. She's actually a wonderful lady.
You know why? Because Mags was one of his mentors. But he never says that. Jeez. So yeah, I didn't understand why Katniss was so attached to Mags. But so they do their stuff. They get through the initial bloodbath. They start meeting up. She finds Peeta at some point, and then they took too long. The storm started closing in. They were taking their health damage as they were trying to run to the circle. And yeah. They make it to the circle, and apparently they find out the whole arena is a clock with crazy disasters happening left and right. Not left and right. Clockwise. Or is that counterclockwise for you guys? Here we go. Clockwise. So it's a big old clock. Thank you, Iris, for helping us figure that out. We have Beetee. So we just got a bunch of old people. And then we got Finnick and Peeta. Finnick and Peeta, they're great. Peeta is amazing. Like, he does so much for Katniss. He is legit in love with this girl. And it shows. And then he's getting mixed signals from her. And oh my gosh, when he brought out the necklace for her, his token that he brought in was just for Katniss. I was like, dude, that's nice of you. But yet she still likes Gale. Come on now. Gale's lame, bro. Peeta has a thriving bakery he can go home to. Just kidding, I don't know. What else? One of the things that I really liked from the first movie, from Katniss's character in general, is her love for Prim. Her love for the younger characters of the story. In this one, she's the youngest one in the games, her and Peeta. But we still get to see a glimpse of her love for Prim, which I am obsessed with. That's what I think is her most amazing trait. And when you hear Prim's voice, like through the Mockingjays or I don't know what you call them. Yeah, where it had a bunch of birds. They were taking the voices of Katniss and Finnick's loved ones. The very first one, it was Prim's voice. And I'm like, oh, shit. And instantly, she runs to it without skipping a beat, even knowing that, like, it doesn't make sense that Prim would be here. But she hears Prim's voice. She hears Prim in peril. And she does not stop to go check it out. I admire that so much. I love it. It's like when there's someone who loves their brother or sister, younger brother or sister so much that they'd do anything, that they'd volunteer as tribute, that they would go on this suicide mission for them. It's admirable. I love it. And we did get to see a glimpse of that there. So the games go on. They scheme up this plan. It goes awry. And then guess what? Katniss breaks the games again. This time, she really breaks it. She breaks it. The whole thing gets shut down. The power goes out. The games are over. Even though there's like 8 people alive at this point still, the games are over. They're screwed. They got fried. And we learn for the first time that this was their plan all along. It went a lot better than they initially planned. Their initial plan was just, hey, we need to get at least Peeta or Katniss out of here. We saw that with that one random girl who sacrificed herself. She stepped in front of one of the crazy monkeys that like bit her neck out, which by the way, that was it was a random person. I had no idea who that was, but that was the most emotional death scene of the series. I was like, oh my gosh. Probably because she was like choking out her last breaths. But I was like, dang, I was getting sad. I was like, that's terrible. Put her out of her misery, please. So, and it was a random person. Why was it a random person? A lot of the tributes were on board with, hey, we need to get either Katniss or Peeta out of here. Katniss or Peeta out of here. That's why they split up at the end there. They're like, we can't have Katniss and Peeta in the same spot, because then if one of the groups gets screwed, then both Katniss and Peeta are dead. So they split them up to better their chances, but the plan went even more so better than they could have even imagined. My only critique of this whole movie, how did Plutarch know that? How did Plutarch know that it would go so well? Plutarch dipped after the plan of electrocuting the water was started. He dipped. Why? It's not like he knew that Katniss was gonna shoot an arrow up at the ceiling and then fry the whole entire arena, but it worked out nice. It worked out a lot better than initially planned. They just wanted to at least get Katniss out again, or Peeta out again, because they were the two who had started the fire for this rebellion to give the districts hope. To have a beacon to look to. And they knew that if they had any chance of this rebellion thing actually sparking and actually catching fire, see what I did there? It would be through Peeta or, most importantly, Katniss. Katniss broke the games, and multiple people got out. Multiple. Some with Haymitch and Plutarch. Beatty, her, Finnick. Love Finnick. But then apparently we find out at the very, very end that the Capitol now has Peeta, now has that other girl who stabbed out the tracker for Katniss. Dude, I'm invested. This is crazy. I do remember that when I first watched this, I was like, what the? I want to see who won. And then the whole game's just ended. And I was like, I'm so confused. Little 12-year-old me. And then I didn't end up watching Mockingjay. But now that I understand, that I know some of the characters, that I know some of the backstory, some of the lore, it's coming together, it's piecing together, and I'm invested, I'm interested, I want to see where it goes. Let's see if I have anything else. Right. I want to talk about Haymitch one last time. Haymitch is smart. A lot of times, it pisses me off in shows, movies, video games, stories in general, when a person figures out, hey, something is wrong here, and then they immediately call it out and then get themselves killed. What you have to do is like, hey, there's something wrong here. You can't rush into calling it out. You have to take a step back, assess, and figure out, how do I do this? How do I overcome this? How do I call this out without getting myself killed? Haymitch is perfect at that, at least right now. It's not like Haymitch doesn't care. Haymitch is not a bum, like I initially thought. My theory right now, and let me remind you that I'm not all the way through the Hunger Games story, so I don't know. My theory, why does Haymitch drink so much? I'm assuming someone dies. Many someones that are close to him back home when he wins his games. But another thing is because he's so upset, because he's so angry at the state of the world. He sees all this stuff happening. He knows it's wrong, but in the moment, he can't do much. So what does he do? Numbs himself to that. Waits, and does what he can when he can do it, but smartly, strategically. And we finally see that starting to pay off at the end of this movie, where he's been invested this whole time. It's upset him this whole time. He's not wrapped up into the fame, into the money of being a part of capital society now that he's a victor. He pretends to be, sure, he talks, he's able to mingle, he's able to have them trust him enough. He lays low. He still has that rascal tag to him, but he's not a threat. That's like what he shows to the world. Under the surface, he's probably super upset, super angry at the state of the world, super angry at Snow, at the Capitol, but he's doing it in a smart way. Mentor, advising, strategizing, doing what he can, and then not afraid to stand up for his people, for the districts, for 12. He's great. He's a great character, and I'm excited to see what he does in these finale movies, kind of what part he plays. But yeah, at the end of the day, he cares. He's just been super smart in the way he's gone about it. And yes, it may have taken 25 years since he won his game, but hopefully it pays off. That was Catching Fire. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it a lot more than the first one. 8 out of 10. That's my ranking for it. Not ranking. That's my review for it. 8.0, 8.5, around that range. I liked it more than the first one. Standout people, Finnick, Haymitch, Peeta. Katniss was less annoying. And then, yeah, it was a good movie all around. And it's a great, cliffhanger. And a great kind of end to be like, okay, that was the last game. The last Hunger Games. And now the rebellion has started. It's in full swing. President Snow swooped in, destroyed District 12, apparently. And I guess there's a District 13 now. In my first video, I accidentally called 12 13 because I was like, unlucky number. And that was what was in my brain. Apparently, I'm just a genius. And I knew that there was a District 13 this whole time. Yeah. But yeah, I hated that the last face I saw was Gale, basically. Ugh. Get out of here, Liam Hemsworth. But other than that, I thought it was great. Hopefully you guys thought so too. I know a lot of you guys watching this are a lot more invested in this series, a lot more knowledgeable in this series. I'm learning, so there's that. And I'm having fun doing it as well. So that being said, if there's anything that you want to say without spoiling it, if there's anything that I said that you agree with or disagree with, let me know. I love hearing what you guys have to say in the comments, kind of talking about this universe, talking about this franchise. Because yeah, what I'm reading, what I'm learning, what I'm watching, I'm starting to enjoy it a lot more. And like I said earlier, it's clicking. It's making a lot more sense. I'm seeing how some of the characters are tied into this a lot more than I knew. So last little things. I think that's it. If you watched this far into the video, thank you so much. It's a long ass video, so I appreciate it. And like I said earlier, any sort of support helps out immensely. So if you want to follow along with this series as we get closer and closer to the Sunrise on the Reaping movie, just consider a subscription. And then, yeah, there'll be more of these videos to come in the future. That was Catching Fire, and this was episode 2 of the Hunger Games Yap Sesh. Thank you guys for watching. Should I say something cringe? May the odds be ever in your favor. Trinket, that's her name. Apparently she knew Haymitch as well. I think I already said that. Yeah, that's it. Thank you for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.